19. Stoned, I'm making stone now. I was 19 at the time. Okay? And me and my mate died. Real Paul Rodney, what is he? There he is. We went on this scrubby bus to Barcelona. In fact, we're no long back, to be quite honest with you. It took that bloody long, you know. And we seen something that I was hoping a young fans last night might have seen, and that was a fantastic victory for Dundee United against European powerhouse Barcelona on their own turf, which for me was the greatest game I've ever been to. And I think it cost £59 return or something on the bus. But we've got the guys here, but I thought we'll just people's memories fade when you get old, you see, you forget. So let's remind ourselves of why we're here tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, what do you guys say? It's going to go on the right here, the Sunny's great memories. Please welcome John Clark, everybody! Okay guys, I'm going to hand it over to Iain and John. Thanks for coming guys.
Thanks very much. It's my fucking night working now, isn't it? I've done there for see you then. Guys, great to see you. We are delighted to be back in Dundee. It's a Barcelona night. We've got loads of stories to tell you. If you want to ask the questions, it's called a Q&A for a reason. You have to come up with the Q's. We might have the fucking A's, know what I mean? Start with the second half of the show. What me and John will do is we'll introduce you guys to our history with Dundee United. Obviously his was a hell of a lot longer than me. I was there for a couple of years, a couple of really good years in my career. John was there, I think, for 13 years, so you'd have get less in prison, man, if you're a kilt wee Jim, now, to be honest. So, again, what Wayne was going to give you all the rules and stuff, the format of the night. The first half will be 45 minutes of me and John. Am I interrupting you there, Brandon? Come on. Fuck's sake, man. You got the mic? We'll tell you a wee bit of our history with Dundee United. Obviously, again, we'll cherry pick, and then we'll let you guys in the second half come up with some questions. Any relevant questions about our career or anybody that we played with at Dundee United. We played a fantastic team. They got the final UEFA Cup, finally Scottish Cup, and we get fucking beaten every one of them. I mean, I played in 5 cup finals. Dundee United played in every one of them. I lost 3 with Dundee United, and I won 2 against them. Get that, where you can believe that? Wait, listen, I'm not bring it up for fuck's sake. They make a Dundee fan in here, know no, hey, listen, I'm only joking. Then the day, nothing would have made me happier than to win something with Dundee United. That team I played in was the best team I've actually played football with. Again, I'm interrupting. Come on, is this a night or something? So, to be fair, I can't hear you. I'm only joking. Yes?
I don't like time on that sentence.
Right.
He was there 3 years. Now he goes to broken roads.
I think you met Jim McLean. To be fair, that was your fucking signing on fee. You know what I mean? God knows. Even worse if you worked for the press, obviously, if anybody remembers. So myself and John had the pleasure of playing in that fantastic. Again, we're back again, I mean, it's hard. We had the pleasure of playing in that team that got a couple of cup finals in the same year. We got to the final UEFA Cup, final of the Scottish Cup. Unfortunately for us, we didn't win any of the two of them. But I thought it was a major achievement. When Wayne said we wanted to do a Barcelona night, I thought we've got any fucking Barcelona, you know what I mean? Let alone the year I was coming to the Hilton in Dundee, no bother. Nothing, just the same thing. But again, we are more than happy to come back here and talk to you guys about our career, especially at Dundee United. I'll start off by telling you how I came to sign for Dundee United. I knocked them fucking back twice. I mean, I came back on loan to Dundee. I'd been to Dundee, went to Rangers, didn't work out. Came back to Dundee on loan for a couple of games. Jim McLean tried to sign me, and I said no twice. I don't know why. I think it was just the fact that because things hadn't went really well at Rangers, even though I scored a goal in a cup final against Dundee United, did anybody remember that? Yes! and the only thing is, when I did that, I came back, spoke to wee Jim, knocked him back up, didn't think it was the right move for me at the time. Thankfully, after a couple of weeks of going back to Rangers and not getting in the team, I decided to come along and sign for Dundee United. I remember, well, there is a good story to be honest. I remember going into Watersmith. Water had been came to Rangers, and eventually after 2 weeks of not getting a game, because I'd come back to Dundee, scored a couple of goals, a couple of games, so I got my confidence back and everything else. And eventually I said, right, I'll go to Dundee United Water. And he went, great, I'll phone the wee man and tell him you're on your way up. I went, no bother. So I wasn't training, jumped in the car with my soon-to-be wife. Said, we're up to Dundee, I'm just going to sign and that's it, blah blah blah. So I drove all the way up to Dundee, got outside Tannadice, and there he was standing with the tennis ball fucking haircut, you know what I mean? And the light blue trackie that he never took off. And he was waiting on me to come up. It was about 2 o'clock, so everybody had finished. And he says, how you doing? In you come. So he took me up the stairs. I said to him, I said, just stay in the car, I'll be 5 minutes. Should have known better, know what I mean? Went up the stair, sat me in the chair, and he says, I'm going to ask you one thing. I said, what's that? He says, do you want to sign for Dundee United? I says, no. And he went, good fucking answer. He said, if you'd have said yes, I'd have maybe no signed you. I think he would have. He said, go get your missus and I'll tell you why you should. So he explained it to me. I'm doing this all quite quickly, because it was the best decision I made in my football career to come and play here, because what a fantastic team it was. I took everything away from the Dundee thing. I'd been there for years, came to sign at Tannadice, and it only took me one game to realise just how good these boys were. I never had as many chances to score. I never scored that day, right enough, you know what I mean? But the second game I played in, I scored a hat-trick in the League Cup. And you know what, from then on in, over the 2 years, it was just a pleasure. Every training session, every game we played in, we were up near the top of the league. We were doing well in Europe. We progressed to the semi-final of the League Cup. We get knocked out with Rangers. I had a kick of Graham Souness that night, right enough, I mean, so I liked that. I managed to score a goal and he had a seared neck. Now, I'm not that brave, I mean, the big man's braver than me, but at the end of the day, he had a sore neck, and when I scored my goal, he just happened to be there, and I went behind and I fucking hit him right in the back of the neck. But he gave me one of the looks, I thought, I better go off. So they beat us 2-1, and again, we didn't get to the final of that, but again, what a fantastic season. It was getting to the stage where we were turning up for every game. John will agree, we expected to beat everybody. Rangers, Celtic, didn't care. I mean, anybody coming to Tannadice knew they were going to get a real game. And again, the exploits we managed to do in the European side of things was sensational. I signed too late to play in the early stages, but I always joke with people, say, well, they don't need the reserves until we go to the quarter-finals, and then I come in, I mean. But again, that's just my introduction to how I signed for Dundee United. It was the best decision football-wise I could ever have made. Everybody made me feel really welcome. I'm quite sure, because of my Dundee history, they were judging me and everything else, but when I started to score the goals, which I couldn't help myself because they were creating so many chances for me, but I was managing to put the ball in the net, so then I won the fans over. There's a couple of games, I'll let John introduce himself to you and tell you about his early stages. One of the best games I played in my whole career was the semi-final of the Scottish Cup against Dundee. We beat them 3-2, and you know what, I remember before the game, Ian Redford, God rest him, he's no longer here, He was at Dundee with the Rangers and Dundee United. We played at Tynecastle, and we went for a walk the night before the game, and we both agreed that there's no fucking way we're coming off the park tomorrow and no win. So to win that game and to play it 3-2 was one of the best games I ever played in football in my career. So that's my introduction to where I started, and we'll go so far, and I'll let John have a wee spell, you know what I mean, and then I'll come back to you.
Good night, everybody. For years before signing as an S-Form, I trained Eastern Road, Ibrox, loads of times up with Mr. Ferguson up at Aberdeen, trying to sign us up there, and eventually signed here. And to try and get in the team initially, it was hellish. I was a striker, with probably one of the best. This guy on the right next to us, but Big Dodgy, try to replace him, try to replace Luggy, Rough Mum, absolute legends in the club, you know, to try and break through into that. And probably we just seen that and a wee bit of lack of fitness, which I went through my whole career. Ended up playing at the back after a couple of years. Then I had to replace Goff. I had to replace Neri, Hegarty or Marpa. So I had a wee bit of a think of fucking things up by the way. So I replaced him. So it was hard to get in. Good memory for myself. As I say, I used to go to Aberdeen quite a lot. Probably, as I say, 3 years in a row. Summer holidays, winter holidays, up there training with them. So decided to swap for Dundee United. That was my eventual decision. So, you know, the stairs as we go up, the old stairs up to Tannadice, so used to I come up for a game, and I was still a youngster. I think I was just turning 17. So I opened the door, who's facing me here? Iain Ferguson. Hello, Mr. Ferguson. So you've decided to sign here, son, he says. I'm like, yeah, Mr. Ferguson, you need fucking certified. His relationship with me, Jim, was quite, I was very, very sporting, but I was very, very competitive. And obviously he wanted me up there, and I ended up signing for Tannadice, which, as Iain also says, how can you replace it? You're playing top league every year, you're guaranteed that. You're playing in Europe, I think over 12 years in a row in Europe. It takes a lot to do that. Some wonderful memories. Normally the game with Barcelona that we're talking about tonight, I managed to play one game, I think, in the league in 1983, when the boys won the league with 12 players. Remember that quote? So yeah, it was a long process and a hard time, hard upbringing in the game, financially and obviously mentally. Sometimes you didn't know if you were going to play in the reserves, and you could be jumping in the first team. It was hard upbringing, but it was one of the best that you could imagine.
Very well done, John. Well done. I think it's John quite rightly says, we all know what Jim McLean was like. Well, you don't, we do. You know what I mean? He was a complete fucking nutter. You know what I mean? I remember my first game, we played against Hearts, and I never picked the ball. I mean, I'd signed and never else. We won 1-0 at the end of the year. I think Paul Hegarty scored with a minute to go. So Iain met us beside me, and we never really spoke about money too much. I mean, before the game he said something like, you're on 5 today, and I went, a fucking fiver? Fuck's sake, that's not very good. Unbeknownst to me was 500 quid. So I get more or less 500 quid for not kicking the ball that day, you know what I mean? He came in, he slaughtered everybody. We were right round the dressing room, we gave everybody their character, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, we won, you know what I mean? But that was just the way he was. He was a complete perfection, you obviously know, a perfectionist, but he just couldn't control his emotions, and he would slaughter, even if we won 3-1, if Parky dropped the guy for the goal, we're all walking in at half time going, fucking get that big man. So he would be standing there going, you young bastard. And it was quite big. But we all go to it. It was as if we picked on just one person. Even Bannon, even did us a real favour. He was the one that answered them back. You're not going, well, you know, done nothing. He just fucking used to slaughter him all the time. But we would deal with that in the right way, because you know what, he was. I pay him the biggest compliment, because obviously I was always kind of mouthy sort of person. I get that, and I get addicted to signing on fees, so I had to move every couple of years. But again, I dealt with Jim for a couple of years, and I pay him the biggest compliment that I did pay him. I didn't answer him back once, and people used to say to me, "Why were you scared?" I said, "No, he was always fucking right." It just happened to be the way he put it across. I used to go, very good, you could have fucking wrote a letter or something and said that. And I mean, we won 4-0 and you slaughtered me for something, but you had to put up with that if you wanted to get in the team. John's quite rightly pointed out the fact that his position, Davy Neary, Paul Hegarty, I mean, how the hell do you split that up? I mean, Clarkie had all the ability in the world, we knew that, and then you see him in training, you see when he comes on. The good thing, or maybe the bad thing, hang on, what's happening? The good thing and the bad thing is he was maybe too versatile. He was maybe good at playing 3 or 4 positions. So in that case, he would put him in up front and he would put him in at the back, maybe even at full back or something. So again, they'd be versatile just to get into that team. Everybody had to be the same. No, I mean, I was right wing or through the middle, but we were lucky the majority of the time, unless John came in up front, it would be me, Kevin Gallagher, and me, Paul Sturrock. So we managed to do okay collectively as a unit. But it was very difficult for a lot of the young boys and boys trying to break through to actually get a game with that team. We were that successful, we were that good, that we were winning every week. So if you've got a winning team and it's working, somebody told me a statistic about when the year we got to the final UEFA Cup and the Scottish Cup, that we played something like 70 games. Now, that's ridiculous, you know what I mean? But I do remember, I'll jump forward past the Barcelona game to the semi-final, because people forget that was the quarter-finals. We beat Borussia Mönchengladbach in the semi-finals. And I remember Jim coming in after the game and saying, "Fergie," I was like, what the fuck have I done now? All the scores we're in the final. And he says, "I'm going to rest you on Saturday against Falkirk." I said, "No, you fuck, it's fine for my club." So I said, "I don't need a rest, I'm alright." I said, "I'm not too sure about the rest of it." I said, "But I'm fine." I said, "Don't worry about it." And lucky enough, we won the game. I scored a couple of goals. But again, it's the kind of thing you go, well, if he'd have got his way, he said, and I don't know, he didn't really do it that much. But I do pay him the biggest compliments although it was only in a couple of years, he did teach me how to listen to criticism without jumping down somebody's throat. I'd been with other managers, Jock Wallace at Rangers said things to me, and when he mentioned the fucking bayonet, I went, "I don't know what that is." And you have to be listening to it. And I didn't really get it. But then going back to signing for Dundee United, it was a commonplace thing. Every week he just had to vent his anger. I remember once he came into the dressing room and we'd won. I mean, we won most weeks, to be honest. It wasn't a cup final, obviously, but we won most weeks, and he sat everybody down. He's lambasted 3 or 4 of us, and he's pissed off into the wee physio room to the right hand side. Sad madman Davy Bowman and maybe him looking at me and going, "Do you think that's us?" I said, "I fucking think so. We can all go on." And I mean, so we tapped it to get ready to get in the shower. He came back in like a madman. He says, "Right, fucking sit down. I'm sick to death of doing this every week. Every week I'm saying these things to you." And he said, "Paul Sturrock, Paul Hegarty and Davy Neary." And he says, "Right, you 3, been with me for years. Sturrock, Hegarty, Neary, I'm going to ask you one question." He says, "See if I hadn't been your fucking manager, would you have been a good player?" So unfortunately for Luggy, he was fucking first to go, and he went, "No." He said, "Don't be so fucking stupid. Of course you'd have been a good player." Davy and Paul are going, "You know the fucking answer to that, by the way." As long as people recognise who the fuck you are, I've done with my hair. I'm dead quick. I'm not going to do that every 2 weeks now. But at the end of the day, as long as you're lucky enough that you get accepted with both sets of fans, I think they knew 100%. I gave everything I could for whoever I was playing at the time. But again, we'll get on to the Barcelona game next, because this is a legendary Barcelona night, isn't it? So we have a couple of stories about that. I'll let Cathy jump in, because I know I'm just fucking top shy, you know.
Obviously, it was a massive moment in both our careers. Going back a wee bit to what Iain said there, we come different routes altogether. He's come as a purchase, so they always got treated better than us. 16-year-olds, and we grow with the company. It's like every other walk of life. You're there for a long time. You just get used and abused, and that's basically what happened. Going back to Barcelona times, I personally didn't know from one week to the other if I was going to play in the team. That's how hard it was to get in the team. I mentioned it earlier. The only thing for me is Paul Hegarty, unfortunately for myself, he got injured probably about 5-6 months prior to that stage, and was just coming back for the cup finals. Basically, that was towards the end of the year, the end of that year with the cup run at Buckingham. He got injured, so I got a longer spell in the team, which kind of did confidence in me. And as Iain said again earlier, we were frightened for nobody at that stage. You know, we could, whatever draw, we used to sit in the boardroom maybe on a Friday, and the draw was going to be live on TV, on the radio, and you'd sit and say, well, that's what we've got. And we were, as I say, we were frightened of nobody. Quite rightly so. The squad they had at the time probably was just changing from the 83 squad to the 87 squad at that time. There's a few had left, like Starkey and that. Holton nearly went to Forfar just after the Barcelona game, which is well documented. But Ralph, God rest his soul, a good pal of mine at the club. He left, I think, about Christmas time. I'm not exactly sure when, but he reminded me every time I seen him that we would have won both cups if he had stayed. So he was somebody that what a great guy. So yeah, moving on, going to Barcelona didn't frighten us at all. We played Kevin Gallagher's goal, and still stays in there.
I remember he actually got interviewed, I don't want to interrupt him, he interviewed and says, the team, that's the team that was the Dundee United thing. And he says, yeah, we scored the only goal in the game against Barcelona. And somebody says, did you mean it? And then he asked me, do you think he meant it? I said, well, he said he practiced at the fucking training, but I must have been wrong. I said, if that wasn't a close, I don't know what is. And then he did say, he said, the only thing you need to look at, if you watch it on YouTube, is the way Fergie's laughing when he's walking, running back, because I realise whether I meant it or no. So it doesn't really matter. I went in the back of the net and there was an opportunity to go over there and play against Barcelona in the new camp. Do you want me to tell a story about before the game? Well, before the game, that was my first European trip. So I had my good friend Iain Ferguson was my roommate, and I remember going over there. And normally, if you were away on a Monday, you would think what you go out and do that. I'll be back a couple of beers or something. No, I'm stupid, you know what I mean? But Reddy said to me, he says, right, whatever I do at the dinner table, just you follow my lead. And me being me, I'm fucking very good, you know what I mean? So what I'm going to get here. So we're sitting with the Dundee United tracksuits on at the dinner table. And me, Jim says, right, I'll do something. I says, anyway, hey, you want to go out tonight for a walk? And so Reddy's kicked me, I'm like, what does that mean? And he puts on up and says, like, you two can go to the rest, you need to stay in. So we went out, and again, we went to a place, I don't know if anybody's heard of it, Las Ramblas, you know what I mean? So we got a Dundee United trackies on, and we're in a taxi, and I says, where have we gone? He says, what, a beer? I says, it's fine. So we went down, had a beer in Las Ramblas, walking about, few United fans waving at us, we were happening for us. So we ended up in this place. I don't know how we got there, but there was these women dancing on a Again, I'm just following the older guy. So whilst we were doing things and trying to get single notes and stuff to do things, we were saying hello to all the United fans in the bar. So we did a few drinks and we were walking back towards the hotel. We eventually got to a wee bar across the road, and I said, "Do you want one for the road?" He said, "I don't need one." So we're in there. Whilst we get in, they were on about our fifth beer. It was the same tiny wee half pint things, not we were big massive people. And he says, "You know, we Jim knows we do it, we'll get sent home." I went, "What the fuck are you talking about?" He says, "No," he says, "Jamie's my pint and get sent home for drinking." And I'm like, "You're a fanny." I said, "We need to play Barcelona, and you're going to get me sent home for 5 half pints of lager." So let's just say, I got a lemon from behind the bar, and we sucked the lemon on the way home. And we went into the room, we actually got stuck in the lift. You couldn't write it, the lift couldn't break. And me and him's in the lift going, "Oh, Christ, we better out here." Up to the room, bang on 10 o'clock when I was supposed to be coming in. And I knew he knew, because we Jim never checked the rooms, you know what I mean? And he tapped to the door at 10 o'clock, he went, "You two in?" Went, "Aye, Gaffer," he went, "No bother, see you in the morning." So he knew that we probably needed to go. I'm not saying we need to do all that, that's what I mean. That was just our bonus. But we had a couple of drinks and we chilled out, and as it happens, I scored a goal, Reddy had a great game. So you wouldn't change that. So again, although he was very strict and he was a complete nutcase, I think his management style at that time, he would probably know, a wee bit of rope. They're not going to hang themselves. They're coming back. They're back at 10 o'clock. And we probably slept a wee bit better than if we had at that time. No, I mean, but Parky hates it because I never asked to be fucking companies. But I know better, because if he came, we wouldn't get fucking back. The only other story I've got about Barcelona is we Paul Sturridge, who I love to death, we both love. I mean, Lonnie was one of the best players I've ever played with. He set up my goal in the Barcelona thing. Nowadays, if you got the ball placed on the left-hand side, he'd have ran it to the corner flag to waste time, but we couldn't be bothered with that shit, you know what I mean? I'm running, we Kevin Gallagher, hilarious, if we all found it funny, you get elbowed at the front post, you know what I mean? Maybe just for the first goal wasn't a real goal. You get elbowed at the front post, it came to me and I've managed to put it in. But we Paul, I remember Paul coming in for the first breakfast, we were in the Tuesday, came down on Tuesday morning, and he sat at the breakfast table, and I'm like, he brought his orange juice. And I'm like, he said, "What the fuck's that?" He says, "Orange juice." I says, "You're in fucking Spain." And I says, "Hey man," he says, "Always bring my stuff, I don't trust these foreign places." I took it off him, made in Barcelona. So I went to Barcelona, to fucking the PG store in Dundee. He then picked it up, he took it through customs, he took it back to fucking Barcelona. And I'm thinking, "I need bother me, man, good logic, thank God you're a good player, man." Anyway, that was my memories before the game. I'll let Parky take us through the game, and then we can celebrate we can play his score. He's raging, by the way, because I scored in the last fucking minute. He's like, "You bastard." He says, "If it had been me, I'd have been able to, I'd have scored the win on the new camp, but for the last 20 years, it's been me." Anyway.
Well, I could probably just add to that as well, because just before Barcelona, I think everybody here knows we struggled to beat Forfar on the Saturday. Now, I'm pretty 91% sure if Fergie here hadn't scored that goal, we would have won the UEFA Cup. As I said, I think it was the 69th game of the season for the Gothenburg game, and I think we were just maxed out playing extra time on the Saturday at St Mirren, which is disgraceful as far as I'm concerned. And so the goal, it saved us and got us to the cup final, well, eventually got us to the cup final, probably done us for our European trophy, in my opinion. It was a hard slog back then. It was a long season. I was probably the unfairest person at every club I was at. I was in the top one anyway. So I found that hardest. We played on the Saturday at St Mirren, which we should have won. I think we were absolutely robbed.
Somebody scored a perfectly good goal, can't even do the bus.
He scored the goal, and Gallagher got shoved into the goals, and and stuff like that. But looking back, it's just crazy how we never. I played in 5 different cup finals as well, 4 finals, but one was a 2-leg and never won any of them. Same as, not the same as Iain, but a bit different. But call me lucky here. They won. Holly's team won the League Cup the year before I joined, and they won the Scottish Cup under Ivan Golak the year I left. What's that? So yeah, call me lucky. I managed to get.
You wish you say for Aberdeen now, don't you?
Well, I don't know. No, I don't think so. I was very, very fortunate, and I feel privileged to have played. And under such a regime was difficult, but the boys got us through. The camaraderie was the only thing that got us through back in the day. Some great lads, some brilliant players. I was fortunate to tag on with some of these guys, Hegarty, Neely, we'll mention all because he's here. Eamon, Batman, mentioned Eamon already. Yeah, Big Goffey, brilliant players. Morris, well, yeah. Morris is bad. Yeah, Morris was a great player and ended up being a cup winning captain for the club, so what a servant, yes. But in fact, hey, what's that?
There's a lot of players that can serve.
Don't have a lot of servants in there. I was a servant, but we got our rewards back to the club. My reward from playing at the club was that we played at a high level. That's why we signed these 8-year contracts and stayed there for so long, because we were playing at the top level that you could reach. We often say that they played in the UEFA Cup finals and scoring goals in that. That's hard to beat, to be honest.
Yeah, it's most of the people in the wrong yourself, right? So, I mean, you see yourselves there. I mean, I'm from all. I mean, you've done something for the community of Dundee. What a lot of people over a lot of years haven't done.
Yeah.
You've got the people talking about for what you've done.
I'll tell you a story. This is when I was playing for Dundee, and I remember when United were on a run in the European Cup, they used to give us tickets to come and watch, and me and the Dundee players used to come and watch United in Europe. And I remember sitting in the stand when Eamon Bannon scored that first goal to go 5-1 up against Barcelona and Gladbach. We all stood up and applauded. We were Dundee players, you know what I mean? So that tells you what that team for me did. They managed to bridge that gap. We weren't going off fucking United, nobody watched that. We would be aspiring to do what they were doing, but that team was so good, and watching that night, the whole place stood up, and so did we. So we had Dundee players standing up applauding the United boys who were that good. You know what I mean?
It's good to say that, because I know that comes from my heart, and I want to wherever you're doing it, I know it's all the point for it. See myself, I was brought up in primary school, and we had nothing as farmers and nothing, right? And the only reason that I followed Man United through my career, they used to go to debt every Saturday. I wanted to see a club, and the teams one played at Dundee, one played at primary school. The old turnstiles, I'm not looking over the turnstiles from now, I'm an older guy, back in the day. And he used to meet me outside town every second week, so they didn't have
I think that's it. I mean, they were so close together. I mean, obviously the closest two together. And again, families, I met families over the course of the years where some of them would be Dundee, some of them would be Dundee. They go, the derby games, they'd go, and for that 90 minutes, it's nothing like, I had to sample the Glasgow stuff, I mean, Rangers and Celtic stuff. It's just venom, it's horrible, it's religious bigotry. And as long as you fucking beat them, I didn't care, man. But the only thing is, you have to take it on board. I had pals like Tosh McKinley, the Charlie Nicholas and stuff. When I was playing with Rangers, we used to all go to Panama Jackson nightclub. We'd be standing outside at the burger van getting our healthy snacks at 2:30 in the morning when the dancing came out, and we'd all be standing there together. There was a different feel about it. There was more of a respect for each other, I would call it. But nowadays, with the phones and the evidence going online, I mean, they make it bad. But when I was playing with Dundee, we'd meet the United boys, we'd meet them out, we'd always be pleasant, how you doing, blah blah blah. But when it came to playing against each other, it was a great derby. It was a great derby to play in. I think there's only a few of us have played in the I played in the Hibs Hearts derby as well, played with Hearts and even Motherwell and Hamiltonakis, but I played the other derbies, and they're all good in their own right. But the Dundee derby I always thought was a good one because it would be intense on the day, but families were all integrated with Dundee and Dundee United fans, and as long as, I'm quite sure I knew after the game they'd be laughing and joking about, unless you get on 5-9. Yes.
Can I ask you a question?
Of course you can.
Do you think we were wrong against Roma in the semi-final?
I'm not old enough to remember that. No, of course you will. I mean, I remember watching that, and obviously I think it was proven that the referee took a bribe. You know what I mean? Well, again, that's it. I mean, even Clarkie talking about, well, we're talking about the St Mirren game in the cup final, I still feel unbelievably cheated by that. The goal I scored was nothing wrong with it at all. And although we all hate VAR, if it had been there, we'd have won the cup. And again, I think the road.
And I walked up the stairs, there's an upstairs, it was lovely, it was great to know the tea and all that, it was lovely. And he'd photos of him,
Wally Pettigrew and Paul Sturrock, and I thought, well, I don't need to buy a fucking alarm. Then you can in here and sees them, they're fucking right back out the door. So I told him all that, but I love Dodgy. He's a fantastic dude, what a fantastic cover player, and he's had a great career, lovely fella, and I mean, but he's money back in the ghost train right enough, and I mean, but I better let Pappy back in and he'll fucking bargain there.
Ian, I played golf with Dodgy, right? Yeah. I'm telling you so sorry. I tell stories about that, right? So played golf with him, I said, how is it here? I said, I'm looking at this as a kind of good. I said, I'm not going to say the same for fucking Aberdeen. He said, couldn't believe it, I'm just fucking moving. He said, I don't want to fucking Dundee Aberdeen or they said, here's this fucking signboard there. I make Aberdeen beautiful again. He says, no, I need to be self-fucking Dodgy.
I never seen that one.
what a player Dodgy was, he was a phenomenal goal scorer at the club. Learned a lot. When I first went up as a striker, I learned a lot from Dodgy. Wally Pettigrew was actually another one. He was probably the best striker, goal scorer that I've ever seen, or played with actually. He just used to pass the ball in the net, nice and simple all the time. He was a different class. Moving forward from there, we go back to Barcelona, will we?
Yep.
So our first thoughts of Barcelona, we get a good result at home, not a great result. We go over there, still feeling pretty confident. The one thing I can remember mainly about the situation there, pretty much we normally train. You normally get a night to train. Jesus Christ, I think I'm some kind of alcohol. No.
John, we've got to tell that.
There's one thing I never got lifted over any turnstiles anyway. It was a week.
Aye, Barcelona. The first game, I mean, obviously we won the first game.
Yeah, we win the game and we go over there still thinking we've got a great chance to get it. Because we Jim, love him or hate him, he always had a master plan. He normally played the one up front, away from home, we stuck up front. Dodgy earlier than Iain, obviously, he would do all the running and make it 5 in the midfield, keep it tight, and then would score on the break. So yeah, we were still confident in getting a goal over there. The thing that kind of haunted me, and it still does a wee bit, was we went, and as I said, the night before you used to get it was in the law books for UEFA, you had to be allowed to train on the park. For some reason we got to train on the
smaller park, which was just over the road from there, which I think was, I don't know if it's Espanol through there or it was a youth team. We trained on there, and I don't know if you'll remember this, or Paul will remember it. We went in and it's probably part of the tour now, I believe. I've never been back since. I've been a wee bit shy to go back. I'm planning to go back at some point, but I'll probably be a bit emotional what to do. So I remember we went to, as I say, where I think the tour is now, and it was all like black felt around the walls. You could hardly see. There was a couple of wee like sparkling lights in the top, and they had the roar of the crowd. Do you remember that? The crowd roared like 100,000. Fortunately, I think that worked in our favour. There was only 40,000 at the ground that night because season ticket holders had to pay to get in, so they kind of boycotted it. That's why the crowd was so loud. They probably told me no shit. They maybe did, but I think there was a mistake on that night. So walking through this, and it really put the fear up here, and we're saying, oh Christ, I'm saying this anyway. Three of the lads went to the chapel. None of us, not me. And just remember kicking the ball on a pitch that was like felt. It was like unbelievable. Oh, we had some good groundkeepers up the road, and the pitch was because we played football on the ground as much as we could. One of the better teams that do so. And even compared with Tannadice at its best, it was immaculate. The whole place was just immaculate. The dressing room was massive. So yeah, going out on that steps that you had to go on the match, the time of the match was like phenomenal. But you can see if you look at the footage, he's laughing, I'm laughing coming up the stairs, but with no fear whatsoever. Well, obviously there's a potential of getting beat, but we didn't have that in us, so we knew we were there to try and do a job. Thanks. Have you been taking questions, Wayne, or is it just going to be, are we free fucking going here? I'll just go with it. Who would like to ask a question? What's your question?
The house you bought from Davy Dodge.
Oh, fuck's sake, you know the tax man. I should fucking sit right down there. Did I say I bought that house? I never did.
How much was it too much?
Let's have a chance.
The house you bought from Davy Dodge was at the side of the Low House.
Yes, it was halfway up the Low Hill.
I'm just going to ask you, you probably will remember, but...
Don't say me, Padma Jacks or something, whatever, really.
I was going to say, right, obviously,
Yes.
John Clark,
Okay.
no disrespect, John Clark's not here all
Brilliant, he's mine as well.
But my best pal, like, fancied your life with me as well.
So did Papa. Look, why, look. You can't help bad taste.
Now, I'm just going to ask, if you remember this, obviously you won't, but...
Even if I do, I'm going to say fucking no. Yes, what's her name? Hi.
We chat to door,
Yeah, okay.
your wife answered,
Yeah?
and he said, it's home yet.
Right.
He said, it's not home yet. If you come back in half an hour, so Auntie was outside and whatever. So wandered about, out there, whatever. Came back and you opened the door, and your socks and your jeans, your white t-shirt, and signed loads of autographs. And you just stood there looking at you like that. Do you remember any when you come to your store?
No. To be fair, if she's hanging about tonight, you gotta come in, you know what I mean? I'm always good. I can't always say I take your word that that happens, you know what I mean? So difficult to get loaded. Maybe they were looking for Davy Dodge, someone for me. Yeah, well, I'm glad that I was present. I would always do that. I would never do that. I always think modern football, sometimes I see them and they don't sign things for people when they take themselves far too seriously. Know what I mean? So we would always, if there's anybody who was looking for an autograph or looking for a photograph, 99 times out of 100 I would say our generation would always do it. But chat my door, that's a bit fucking strange. I was going to take a fucking boy, and I'm sure I knew who she was.
You must have been young at the time, though.
Yeah, you know, that's bad. You You think that's bad, Ian, right? John, me and John had a conversation a minute ago coming out of the gym, right? She's got a scrapbook, right? And this goes back fucking 30, 40 years or whatever, right? That was a vinyl, right? And I know a lot of this, right? And she says, I'm telling you, she says, that man, oh, boy, she says, I used to do training grounds every morning, watch him train this and all that, right? She says, I didn't even know, he says, you're a noble man back in the day, and I just spoke to his legislation, look at that.
Big man wants to sell another listen, we're all very fortunate to be able to play football for a living, and you get supporters who would say these things to you later on in life. It's always a good compliment. At the end of the day, I had a heart operation 9 months ago, and the women in Dundee don't believe I've got a fucking heart. No, I mean, we're the ones that met me anyway. You know? We had a ball up here. I love Dundee. I always think when I came here straight from school, I lived in a wee village outside Mullow, and I came to Dundee. I thought it was fucking Disneyland, to be perfectly honest. But again, had a ball up here. Everybody there friendly. So anybody wants an autograph, anybody wants to come to my door, do you know what I say? No, well, good. No, I mean, I don't think my wife knew. I'll be another wife who's seen her there. First time I'll get sick of it, you know what I mean? Yes, big man, what you want to say?
Right, I've got a question for you. One of the most memorable goals that you scored was against Hearts. 3-1 victory. And you scored it at the halfway line, you dispossessed the guy. Anyhow, what goal was your most memorable, apart from perhaps the Barcelona goal? What goal did you enjoy scoring most for United?
For United? Oh, I wouldn't have been enough to turn the fucking thing off. Is that you? You might be able to hear me anyway, you'll get that loud voice, you know what I mean? I think in all honesty, the most important goal is obviously the semi-final against Borussia Mönchengladbach. We looked ahead of the 5 yards, and we still a combination of our pressure and the most important goal gets to the final. I was lucky. I mean, I always say to people, the Dundee fans know I'm good with them as well. I enjoy playing with both clubs. But the semi-final we played at Tynecastle, for me, was one of the best games I've played in my career. But it had everything. It had passion. It had 5 goals. We had a performance with Billy Thompson like you've never seen before in your life. I think the two teams really went at it, and they were really close at the time. Dundee had a really good side, a lot of really good players. And when Holty played the ball to me for the first goal I scored the exact same goal against Inter Milan for Rangers. Cutting across and hitting it to the far corner is probably one of the difficult things you have to do. You just have to direct it, and that goal gave me great pleasure because at the end of the day, I did have a wee point to prove. I mean, Dundee sold me, didn't buy me back. Dundee United took a chance on me, and that game meant a lot to me. 3-2, we won at Tynecastle. The goal for the halfway line, I've had people ask me if I meant it. I said, no, I meant it at the fucking barn running either. It's a ridiculous thing to say. Some other people might say, well, you didn't know you running, couldn't be bothered fucking running through. But again, I took old Sandy Jardine that day, and again, God rest him, Sandy, I was lucky enough to meet him.
You scored the first goal for Hearts.
Sandy, I can't mind that, that's my memory of it again. We can't make you come to my door either. The good thing is, every goal's a good goal. I mean, the penalty I scored against Forfar was one of the most important. I think Clarkie's, I get where he's coming from. That might have hindered us from winning the UEFA Cup, but I think you go to win every game, and the pressure, we wouldn't want to get beat before you go and play the second leg in Barcelona, so we might not have won that. You know what I mean? Due to the confidence we had to go in there. So again, goals, every goal you score has got a meaning. I was lucky enough that every club I played for, I managed to score reasonably important goals, you know what I mean, whether it was cup finals or European games or things that people remember. But I mean, the first goal in the semi-final against Dundee was as sweet as a nut. As soon as I left my foot, I thought, see you later. And it's a very difficult one to do, you know what I mean, so that would be it. What was the fucking Dundee fans in there? I thought a couple of good ones for them, I don't know. Yes? best player he played with at Dundee?
Well, I was there for a long time. As Iain mentioned earlier, 13 seasons I was there. And going, I think my earlier part of my career was a better squad. And I think just after the Barcelona era, the UEFA Cup run, things started to taper up a wee bit. Big Goffey was just set for success. You knew, and everything he'd done was just like professional. I stayed in the digs where I'm just along the main road. It's not in the garage, just before you come out of the corner circle. On the way to Broughty Ferry, that was my first digs. I missed his Clark actually, was a name, funny enough. And me and Goffey, and we would go over to the garage and I'd get like a bit of chocolate about this guy. And Goffey would get 4 grapes and a banana. That's why I know right here. Big Goffey was just set for the top. But I think he was superseded by David Neary. David Neary was brilliant. Any of these were at was it Whitehall Theatre? We done this a few years ago. David didn't even turn up. He's not the type of person who asks questions and really mingle with people, but he was just such a class player. It was a shame he wasn't there actually. I mentioned that in the night, but what a player. And eventually my career was going to be playing at the back. Although I was actually competing with him for places at times, as I said earlier, Paul got injured and I replaced him for about 3 or 4 months, just before they sent him in again. And the encouragement they used to give me and then the knowledge you could get from the two of them was like phenomenal. Heggie in particular, I was, as I said, I was unfit, I was always unfit, I just couldn't do it. And Heggie would do a 40-minute run round Kirk Park. And we used to call it what's the one out at the Cash, the golf course? Camper. We used to call it Hamburger Hill. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't get to the top without stopping. One day we jumped out the bushes and they come on you.
What's the upload in the morning? You get fucking lost.
It was actually, what was his second? I can't remember his first name. A black guy. No, Raphael. Another guy.
Peter Hines.
Peter Hines actually got a taxi back for him. I was driving him. So, as I said, I was never fit. It was good times, good memories.
John, can I ask? Like, obviously, going to the new car, how have you never ever went back? What's stopping there, or how?
You should be so proud to go back.
I think when you give up, you're forced to give up the game. It's very difficult. The players in our era are no millionaires. Nowadays, you just finish and you don't have to work. You've got to get make a living for yourself. I think it's an emotional thing. For myself anyway, that I didn't really want to go back. My mum and dad were at the game, lucky enough to go there, and they were at the final in Gothenburg and at the home game. But I just feel, and Iain's kind of burst my bubble a wee bit, because I thought we might be able to get something sort of between the clubs where I could maybe go in the park. But he mentioned earlier he wasn't allowed in the park.
I was only fucking kidding. The game was going on the park and I got lifted.
Yeah, we're only didn't bring me on that fucking night out at all.
Hey, listen, don't be touchy. You got us fucking saying better knew it was game.
See, as a collective question, right? Do you think as a United squad is going to performed and done as good as what you've done if the wee man wasn't behind us?
No, I don't think there's any doubt in that. I don't think Jim McLean put together that squad. He had a certain way of doing it. He had, I know his methods, and obviously the contract situation where some of the younger boys were tied up to long-term contracts. I mean, I remember Paul Kinnaird, if you remember Paul broke anything. And Paul came to me one day and said, I was obviously was the experience. I think I was 23 when I came back to United. But went to Rangers and came back, and he says, Fergie, he said, could you help me out? I said, what is it, son? He said, I broke into the team. He said, Lee Jim's offered me a new deal. I said, so what's he offered you? He said, he's offered me a couple of grand sign on fee and a £50 a week wage rise. I said, so what's your contract like? He says, oh, it's alright. He said, I've only got a year left. He said, I've got one of these 5-year options, but I don't fucking fancy that. I said, that's not your choice, wee man. I mean, take the 50 quid and the 2 grand. But that was just his way of tying boys to the club. Kevin Gallagher, we all know, had a run, but he eventually let him go. I don't think for a minute the Dundee United would have been as successful without Jim McLean. I think Jim McLean may not be everybody's favorite team, but as a coach, and he was a coach, he wasn't a manager, because he did not know how to manage. He was not a manager of people. He was a good coach, and the way he taught us how to play the ball through midfield and don't play it long, play it through back things, break over there and do your running in the box. Defensively, you have to defend in front, and he taught probably everybody who came into the club, even the experienced players, would say that he gave them that extra bit of knowledge that would help them tighten up their game. So yeah, he was a raving lunatic. I mean, when it came to the way he expressed himself and how he got his point across, but I do think his knowledge of the game and what he did for a small club, Dundee United, semi-final European Cup, final UEFA Cup, won the league. I mean, you don't do that by coincidence. Him and Walter, obviously inside as well, did a fantastic job. So I don't think they would be anywhere near where they are without doing food.
Next question. You mentioned about weekend tonight, and the goal against Barcelona in the first one. It was a great player. A big fan at the time. And then his father, Kevin's father, and he had quite a well-known back in the Minders office where Lee Jim was doing that sort of thing for a week or so. Yeah? But you were there, McLean, Lee Jim, he's doing it again. Did you never think that the end of the game?
Yeah, I'll tell you who you're talking about. You're talking about Alex Taylor.
Oh, yeah.
Alex Taylor's dad was my hero for years. He gave me Jim come to me training and had us for shine. That was hilarious. Yes, it was an argument. He did things like, he done it to me as well. I think it was Hamish McAlpin's testimonial. He took me off at half time. I scored, it was against Scotland, sure. So I scored in the first half. You come off, you be playing Saturday, and then you would be in the wilderness for 3 months. You even see the first team. And that happened a couple of times with Alec, and his old man just had enough. Alec was a kind of timid guy, and we didn't knew your faults, right? As Iain said, what a brilliant tactician and knowledge of the game was second to none, but well, how he treated people at times was terrible. No, they had a set two. No, they didn't have a set two. Alex Oldman just stood up and whacked them, and that was that. Of course, he had too much. He was a chairman. He was everything. So if I fell with a wee Jim, which I did on numerous occasions, I had nobody that I could go and speak to. I didn't want to make this in a hate Jim night. Because he's got a lot of respect for people in the room, so yeah. So, but you've got to touch on that. It was a wee bit over the top at times. He said, "We Jim is alright." Probably was a wanker. I think I'm alone. There was one thing I can see is I didn't answer Jim McLean back, but I fucking answered the other one. He didn't know what he was talking about. You know what I mean? I genuinely thought he was a poor copy of Jim, and he was trying to do the whole thing about bullying and everything else. If you hadn't had Tam beside God rest and I love Tam, if you hadn't had Tam beside him, he wouldn't get away with the thing. But knowledge is great if you can pass it on in the right way. I mean, being cover players, we were sponges when it came to... I learned that the majority of the stuff off other players. The experienced players at Dundee when I was in the team at 17 kept me right, kept me out of trouble, and made sure that you get good habits, and Clarkie would have the same with the boys in United. So you learn and you take it all that on board. The manager should manage. I think the title of being manager, he wasn't really a manager, because he could not manage the players. He could get them collectively doing what he wanted. But he was getting off like a nutcase. I mean, you would have probably needed Walter Smith. Walter Smith probably would have been a better manager, because he'd know somebody needs a cuddle, somebody needs a drop the arse. But we Jim just put everybody out there. Anybody else? Sorry. Yes, another one. You look up in my fucking door again. But where do you stay? I'm not telling you.
Sorry. German and the other right, but obviously another thing is there was a lot of people on the right, but it's a lot of it like he's giving it a risk to the butt. There's a number of times I was sat doing and like, you know what,
I told you when I signed for Dundee United, he convinced me to sign. He said, go and bring with my fiance at the time, bring her in. When I said no, even after knocking back twice and back, I said no again. He convinced me to sign, and he did it in a really nice way. Made a cup of tea. He said, listen, I was a coach and a player at Dundee. They didn't want me, came to United. I've built this club up to day to day. You'll love it here. You'll love playing in the team. You'll score goals. And you get your fitness up. You do this, that, the other. So yes, he did talk to me that way. Obviously, I was right with the window as soon as I fucking signed.
Why did you go up the stairs in the first place without knowing your head?
No, I didn't. I was there to sign. It made realistic and common sense to me, because I went back after getting the confidence of scoring 2 goals, 2 games, then getting back to Rangers and I'm back to the reserve. Being honest, I've never lied. I don't hear lies. He said, do you want to sign? And I went, no. But I'll still sign. And he went, right, okay, go and bring your missus in and I'll now explain you why you should. And everything he said at the time was very calm. He said, I've watched you. He said, I watched you play with Dundee. I knew every pub you drank in. I knew everybody came to your door. So again, you would just have to go take him at his word. I signed, and I never regretted it. I was here for 2 years, and it went very well. And it could have been, I would have loved it. The one thing that's missing, playing in 3 cup finals with that team and we didn't win one, where I thought, you know what, I wish to God we'd at least even won. We're 1-0 up against Celtic with 5 minutes to go. I mean, and then they scored 2 goals. So again, hard to take, but I'll still remember the games we played in and some of the victories we had at home and abroad, and it'll never leave me. We still get, you still, Clarkie will get all the time. I get it. He scored in Barcelona. Aye, but that was after the game.
Yeah, see the final, then United were in 7, right? And I was
all in 5.
I know, I was upset.
I'm not giving a fuck about it.
I'll say the real one. I'll say the real.
Anybody else?
When you won against, we won against Barcelona, and we were playing against Mark Hughes and Gallagher and all these so-called stars. After the game, what were they? Did you graduate or were they magnanimous or what?
Pretty much magnanimous, as you say. I seen a Facebook reel thing about Gary Lineker not so long ago. I think it was Iain Ferguson actually. And he said, yeah. I think I say Tom Clark scored the first goal, and he was like, yeah, they beat us, they done us over. No, they knew they were feeling a better team on the night. So yeah, that's something about it for us, didn't they? On paper. But it doesn't always work.
It was a shrewd, very shrewd practitioner of the game.
Yeah, but
I watched the play. I went to see a play and about Jim, right? And the goal was just 2 of them. It came over.
Fucking horror.
be a player than Jim McLean. Jesus Christ. I think at the end of the day, a manager's only as good as the players he's got at his disposal.
Yeah, it came over in the play, right? It came over in the play, those of the rest. And it came over in the play, right? But Dumping Thompson, right?
Yeah.
And different people trying to get the reins on the line, right? And he sort of gave him the thought in that, no, you've been a bad boy, can't go fucking paint the toilet or whatever it was, or whatever you have to do on that. And he thought him painting on Jim McLean's the leg, I'll tell you.
I'm just trying to get Bill Winter. Yes, another question. The question right
Right, this is for John. So you obviously started off playing up front, and then you became centre back. What would your preferred position be, and why? What persuaded you? Well, obviously Jim. What did he say to make you to tell you that you weren't playing forward, you were now a defender?
Well, obviously, I prefer playing up front. You get all the products, you get most of the money, and all that.
There are people that was a goal on that.
You even get your own, sunbed and stuff like that. There's no defence for you. So, yeah, that was one of my regrets in my football career, to be honest with you. I was a striker, me and I'm probably a good friend of the club as well, John Riley. John was a couple of years older, but we played in the reserves for most of the seasons before he went into the first team, before me being a wee bit older. And we used to have like orange stickers we used to put on the board. The club did it. And we had Clark, start again, Dodds, Sturrock, Annan, Clark, and all the goals you scored. And we included the reserves as well. And you used to count how many put a wee orange sticker when you scored. When we were playing in reserve league, when the first team was away from home, we'd play Hearts at home, for example. Then on the Monday night we'd have reserve league.
Right? Oh, God. Right, okay. Now, Clark, you're going to go too far, right? And we're going to give a countdown. The famous John Clark Barcelona celebration. 3,